welcome to the Customer Management IQ video interview series. I'm your host, Corey Bennett, and today we are on site live in Las Vegas at the 12th Annual Call Center Week. Joining me right now is Tom Graves, the Director of Customer Service at Carolina Biological Supply Company. Tom is one of our speakers here at the conference, and his presentation is titled Journey to Excellence with Net Promoter Score. So he joins me right now to talk a bit about that. Tom, thanks so much for being here.
Corey, thank you very much for asking me.
Of course. So I wanted to start off, part of your presentation is talking about this really significant jump you guys at Carolina Biological had in your NPS score. It improved 14 points, 56% to 70% over 16 months. So can you talk a bit about why you think it went up, and then how you were able to connect it to increase sales in your company?
Well, you know, the two-year journey is very important. We started the NPS methodology back in '06.
Oh, wow.
So we've come a long way. We had our first survey was in February of '06, and we had a score of 33. Now, in some industries, that's really good.
Yeah.
But everybody at Carolina really took it to heart and said, that's not good enough. So, you know, we did a lot of different things over the past 2 years to go from 50 into the 70s, around 68 now. And our customers are educators. Some of the most highly educated customers a contact center or a company is going to work with. So it is not just a customer service job, it's the role of every single person at Carolina Biological. And what makes it easy for us in our company is that it starts at the top. Our CEO, our vice presidents are all on board. And that makes a director of customer services job very easy, or easier than some that don't have that support.
Yeah. Personality of leadership drives company culture, certainly.
It certainly does.
Yeah. I'm interested, though, in your opinion on how much do you think Net Promoter Score actually represents how good your customer service is?
It definitely represents us. We do a quarterly NPS survey, but we also do an NPS survey after every call. So the customer can...
and what kind of questions are on that survey?
Well, we ask 3 questions. Based on your time on the call with this particular CSR, how would you rate the professionalism and courteousness of that CSR? The second question is your NPS question. Based on this transaction or based on your call today, how would you recommend Carolina to a peer, another science or math teacher? And then the final question is a lot like a first call resolution question. Were we able to meet all your needs on this call? We give them a yes or no option. If they say no, then we allow them to leave us a VOC, a voice of the customer. They can leave us a voicemail, and we act on that very much like we would act on a verbatim from the NPS survey that we do quarterly.
How have your NPS questions in that for every call NPS, how have those changed over the years? And do you think changing them helped you improve recognizing what you needed to improve in your company?
Well, when we started, we didn't have call record until 2007.
Okay.
And that's when we started implementing the 3-question NPS survey on a post-call survey for our CSRs. It's the same questions we've been asking. We haven't changed them. We're thinking about changing the last question because you may call in, it may be your 3rd call, but we're asking you, were we able to meet all your needs on that particular call?
So even if it was a resolved problem, not all needs were met. Interesting.
Right.
So I'm interested in what were the gaps you noticed from these surveys, the quarterly and the for every call surveys? What were the gaps you noticed in your service when it was down at 33%?
Sure. Well, at 33%, your customer service sucks. I mean, very bluntly, it is terrible. They were saying the customer service reps were rude. A lot of time it was validated when we listened to the call. Sometimes we said, okay, did they not get what they wanted and they thought the CSR was being rude, condescending, wouldn't give them what they wanted. So we take to heart every verbatim. Even if somebody gives us a 9 or 10 who is considered a promoter in the NPS surveys, we take those verbatims and we say, okay, what can we do to improve? We look at trends from survey to survey. What trends out of this survey, and you can't do everything at one time. So what are the trends for our different production departments? What are the trends in customer service? Is it a training issue? Is it a tech support issue? Is it a first call resolution issue? Were we keying the order wrong? And we saw a major improvement in our order entry errors.
Oh, okay.
And that improvement went from, in '06, from about 1.3, 1.4% of all our orders had a keying error to just last month we had a 2.8, a 0.28.
Yeah, I was going to
Yeah,
see. There we go.
0.28 is just phenomenal.
And that's nothing.
When you're using J.D. Edwards and you're asking guys to key things in either on the phone or with a mail or fax in front of them. So that was phenomenal. It caused us to look at how we train staff. It also forced us to look at how we hire staff.
Yeah.
What is the onboarding that we do? What's the process of assessing a candidate to make sure that we're not going to hire a duck? You can't have a duck and send them to Eagle School.
Yeah.
So it really forced us to look within, and we in the production departments at Carolina, they do the same thing. We come together after every survey. Every single day of the survey, we meet, we do a conference call with those production departments so they can hear what the customer's saying.
So when you say we come together, who's involved in that we? Who's on board in making these decisions?
Practically every director in the company is now on those calls. A lot of the directors in the production departments, whether it be living materials, slides for the biology teachers, they'll have their staff listen in, and somebody from customer service will read those verbatims that we get just less than 24 hours the day before.
Yeah.
And what's the big thing that we're seeing is teachers can't get over the fact that they would take the survey at 9 o'clock in the morning and a customer service rep is on the phone with them at 1 o'clock in the afternoon about their responses to the survey. That's a huge key.
Yeah. So moving forward, what are some of the issues that you're seeing emerge now that you think Carolina will have to address in the coming year or 2 years?
Sure. I think, the definition of a closed loop process with a customer concern or getting a issue from a customer, that definition changes as you go along because 3 years ago we thought we were doing a good job, but we weren't getting the customers involved in that process. We weren't giving them feedback as to what we did to change.
Okay.
And we weren't asking you, the customer, what do you think about this change?
Yeah.
We wanted to get their buy-in. So that's the piece that now we're taking that next step.
So before listening to complaints only, now listening to complaints, following up, have we changed what you were complaining about? Interesting. And what are the challenges there in following up? I imagine it's very hard to trace someone who makes a complaint and then follow up with them down the line.
You were a student.
Yeah.
You know the challenges that educators have today. Funding, large class sizes, and maybe they have to teach more classes than they have ever before. So the amount of time that they have to talk to somebody on the phone is going away.
Yeah.
So even though we don't hold our staff accountable for handle time or talk time, we want them to take care of the customer. But we also know that a lot of teachers today, email's the way to go.
Yeah.
And you may not hear back from them. You want to do a follow-up right away because we're in tune with, hey, we did something wrong, let's fix it. You may not be able to hear back from the customer or our customer for 2 or 3 days.
Of course. So Tom, I know that many companies will accept having, say, 80% of calls answered in 20 seconds or less as world-class service. But I know a big part of your presentation is going above what you think you can do. Can you talk a bit about how you've been able to, or why you need to go above that 80% or have a lower abandon rate than some people might find acceptable?
There's one thing that we've just started doing. We found that we segment our customers. Because our new customers in the past year surveys have been giving us a lower score than, say, our VIP customers or our regular customers. So we said, okay, what can we do for those new customers? So now, if a CSR handled, worked with, assisted a teacher or educator who is a new customer to Carolina, they get a printout 2 weeks after that order has shipped. And then that CSR will send an email to that customer. I had the privilege of working with you on your order. Please let me know if there's anything that we could have done differently. And were you pleased with the product that you got?
How long have you been doing that?
And we've been doing that for about 8 months now. And the response rate is great. We're getting more kudos. Nobody's ever asked me if I liked the product or if the service that I received 2 or 3 weeks ago was up to my own satisfaction. And keep in mind, what's world-class KPIs for one company? It used to be 80% of your calls answered in 20 seconds or less. That's not good enough for us. An educator can't hold on for 20 seconds. So world-class to us is 87%, 88%, and you strive for that. Our abandon rate, it can't be 3%. It's got to be down to around 1%. So we've taken some things where, yes, world-class for some companies is 80% calls answered in 20 seconds or less. For us, that's not good enough for Carolina Biological.
It's a different segment you're serving.
It's a different segment. It's not good enough for the educators that we serve.
So speaking of striving towards goals that might be acceptable elsewhere, do you think NPS plateaus? Or, I mean, how high can you go? Do you get to a place and you say, yeah, we're good here?
Well, we were at 33, we thought we were terrible. And then it plateaued at 50. So we sort of hit a glass ceiling. So what are we going to do to break that glass ceiling and move into the upper 50s and 60s? Well, now we're at 68, 69, 70. How are we going to break that ceiling and get into the 80s? Because we know we can do it.
You think it's possible?
It is possible. And it's the culture of the company. If every single person that works at that company says that I can make a difference into the experience the customer has, we're going to get into the 80s very quickly.
Yeah, great. Well, I look forward to seeing the results, and I appreciate you joining me today, Tom.
Thanks so much, Corey.
And to our viewers out there, you can check out more of our videos at customermanagementiq.com. Once again, I'm your host. Until next time, thanks for watching.